Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Deanna. I'm the owner of D3's Boutique as well as the Facebook group Tumblr Tutors. Today we're going to be making this super cute little chocolate covered strawberry, the sweetest little sippy cup in the entire world. I am in love with this little cutie pie. I get asked a ton of questions about 3D drips, so I'm going to be showing you guys how I make them today. As always, I will have all of the products that I'm using as well as some discount codes for you guys to enjoy linked in the description below. Let's get into it. So today we're starting off with this 8-ounce sippy cup from Makerflow. We're just going to go ahead and twist off the top and set it to the side. Then we're going to go in with Pop of Color Red Red, and we're just going to take a little foam brush and start painting it on. We want to make sure that we have full coverage, but we also want to make sure that we don't leave any lumps or bumps. We want everything nice and smooth so that we don't see any imperfections underneath our glitter. Next up, we're going in with Bold Red from Backfist Customs Glitter. And Bold Red is so pretty. It looks so velvety when it's going on the cup, but it kind of has a little bit of a color shift in there. I don't want to say it's holographic because that would be the wrong word. It's just very, very pretty. You have to check it out for yourself. So now that we've got full coverage, I'm going to go ahead and dust it off with a fluffy brush. And we are going to go back in with another coat of our Pop of Color paint. So now you'll see me start to make little paint blobs all around my cup. I do this just so that I don't contaminate my Pop of Color jar. I try to only use those paint blobs to paint around the cup. Sometimes I do have to go and dip in again, but it lessens the chance of me contaminating the whole container. So once we make sure that our paint is smooth all the way around, we've got full coverage, we're going to go back in with our Bold Red glitter and just do an all over coat once again. Then we'll go ahead and make sure that that completely dries, and once it is dried, we'll come back in with our fluffy brush to dust off any excess glitter. So now we're going in with our epoxy. I mixed together about 10 mLs of CCDIY's fast setting epoxy. That is 5 mLs of part A and 5 mLs of part B. And I am just going all the way around the cup and making sure that I've got full coverage epoxy. Once it's on there, we're going to make sure that we hit it with our torch to pop any bubbles. Once that's cured, we're going to go ahead and clean up our rim around the edge, and we're going to go ahead and give it a good sand all over and clean it off with some rubbing alcohol on a paper towel. Now, this is arguably the most important part of this entire process. You have to put the lid back on. Because it is a twist-on lid, before we do any vinyl work, you have to put it on so that we know where the front of the cup is. So once my lid is on correctly, I went ahead and cut out my little face on black vinyl. I have this gold vinyl for my seeds, and then I've got eyes on white, and I've got the little tongue on this pink foil vinyl. This is a file that I either made pieces of or found pieces and put them together for free from online. So I will go ahead and have this whole file listed in the file section of my Facebook group Tumblr Tutors free for you guys to use. So now I'm just going with my transfer tape, and I'm going to take the little face part of our design and I'm going to put it right smack dab in the middle of our sippy cup. I've got the sippy part in the back, and I'm making sure that I put the face low enough because I want to make sure that I have space for that drip. And then I just start layering my vinyl. I go in with the little white dots for the eyes, and then I go in with the little pink tongue, and I just line that up along the curve of the mouth. Then once the face is done, you can go ahead and take off your lid. It's just going to be in the way for this next part. So now I'm going in with the seeds. And for the seeds, I just take up a couple at a time and I just place them sporadically around the cup. This is going to be your preference, how many seeds you want to add around the cup. I like to kind of place them sporadically, but I also like them a little bit closer together. You don't have to get too far to the top of the cup, and once you place a couple of them on, you can always take some off with your X-Acto knife, which is what I ended up doing here. I put them a little bit too close together, and then I decided I think I'm going to go ahead and spread some out. So I did end up peeling a couple off and rearranging a few, but I highly recommend doing like I do here, where I place them pretty far apart and then I can fill in the blank spaces a little bit later. But like I said earlier, don't put them too close to the top because it will have a drip there, but also you want to make sure that you have them a little bit closer to the top, because on the spaces that your drip doesn't come down that far, you do want to make sure that you do have seeds there. So I just place my seeds all the way around the cup until I'm happy with the amount that I have. And once I finally am, we move on to the next step, which is epoxy. So I went ahead and mixed another 10 mLs of CCDIY's Fast Setting Epoxy. That's 5 mLs of part A and 5 mLs of part B. And I'm just doing an all over coat of epoxy just to cover up that vinyl. That way, once this is dried, if we do not like something about our drip when we're putting it on, we can wipe it off and we don't have to worry about ruining our vinyl. And then of course we make sure that we hit it really well with our torch to pop any bubbles. We want to make sure that you don't see any bubbles over that foil vinyl. And look how cute she is. Oh my gosh, she's so cute as is. But of course we are going to add our drip because it just makes it so much cuter. So I'm just going in with an all over sand and just making sure that I make everything nice and smooth, and then also making sure we rough up that top edge. We want to expose that stainless steel right around the edge to make sure that our number one, our drip sticks really well, but also number two, we have a nice clean edge that we can come back to and also be able to put that lid on and have it tighten down correctly. Once that's all done sanding, go ahead and wipe it down with some rubbing alcohol on a paper towel. Now I mixed up another 10 mLs of CCDIY's Fast Setting Epoxy. I use Fast Set for drips because I am quick working. If you want to take your time, you can go ahead and use artist resin or medium viscosity or whatever epoxy you prefer for this step. So now I'm using a little bit of brown mica from Backfist Customs. I'm just adding a tiny bit to give it a little bit of a shimmer. And I'm just going to mix that in really quickly. Next, I'm taking my dispersion color in the color Sienna, and I'm just putting in a little drop of it. We don't need much. A little goes a long way with dispersion colors. Dispersion colors are a colorant specifically formulated to work with epoxy. Using dispersion colors as my colorant helps my epoxy not flash cure, it helps it not be super stringy, and it also gives me the pigment that I'm looking for. Now that that's all mixed up, I'm going in with some Nice and Thick from Counterculture DIY. Nice and Thick is a thickening agent. It is going to help us thicken up our epoxy so that we do not have to sit around and wait for it to get thick enough to make a drip. If we were to put our epoxy on as is on the side of the cup, we would be sitting here for forever holding the cup up and down, just swapping the cup to make sure that our drips don't go down too far. Because if you've ever done a drip before and you just let it sit there and all the epoxy runs down to the bottom, that's what happens. So you want to add a thickener like Nice and Thick and mix it in really well to your epoxy to get it to that consistency so that when you put it on the cup, it's not really moving super fast. You can control it. So now I'm going to keep adding some nice and thick to my epoxy until I get the thickness that I desire. I'm going to make sure that I mix it all in really well. I make it nice and smooth, no lumps. And once that is all really well mixed together, I'm going to take a little bit of it and I'm going to bring it up and I'm going to scoop it against the side of my mixing cup. And that is how I will know if it's thick enough. If I scoop it against the side of my cup and it drips down too fast, I'm going to add more nice and thick until I go ahead and scrape it against the side of that measuring cup and it doesn't move that fast. You want it to be able to scrape against the side and notice that it's not dripping down too far. So now that we've found a consistency that we like, I'm just going to put my cup to the side and I'm going to start adding a little bit to our top edge of our cup. I am just going to go around the cup and at first I would just want to get it on. I'm not adding a lot, as you can see. I am just making sure that I cover that top edge really well. The goal for the first go round is to just get it on there. We just want to get it on there, make sure that we get all the way to that top edge. You can see, again, I'm not putting a ton on. You can add more. It's a little bit harder to take away. So I'm just making sure I get it all the way around. Then I can go back in once it's all the way around and add more by scraping some onto the edge a little bit, just in some places where I feel like I need more. But also making sure that I cover that top edge really, really well. I know I've said that probably about a million times now, but it is really important because you don't want your top edge to be see-through. You want it to be nice and thick and consistent all the way from the very top of the drip to the bottom. Then we're going to sit here like an angry toddler and slam our cup against the table a couple times. This right here is going to help our drip down a little bit, because remember, we added all that nice and thick so that it didn't drip. Now we want it to, so we're going to kind of force it down a little bit. Now the more you hit it, the further it will drip down. And also remember, if you are not using fast setting epoxy, you've got quite a few hours for your epoxy to dry. So once you go ahead and get your drip to a place that you like, you may not be able to set it down and let it go. You may have to put it on a tumbler turner or something along those lines. So after letting it sit for a couple minutes, I'm going in with a little bit of a paper towel soaked with some rubbing alcohol on my finger and just going around that top edge and trying to clean up very carefully, clean up any little drips that may have gone over the edge. Look how cute she is. Oh, I love her. So now we're going to let her cure for a little bit. And once she is all cured up, we are going to go ahead and clean up that rim. We're just going to go right in with some sandpaper and we are going to go around the top edge and expose a little bit of stainless steel around that top edge. This is going to help us for our next epoxy coat to make sure that we get a really good seal, but it's also going to help make sure that we have a clean top edge for our lid to seamlessly attach on. Then we're just going to go in with a paper towel with some rubbing alcohol on it and just make sure that we clean her up really well. We want to get all of that sanding dust off and make sure that she is ready for epoxy. So now I'm going in with 10 mLs of CCDIY's Artist Resin. That is 5 mLs of part A and 5 mLs of part B. I'm starting towards the bottom here. And before I even really get to go over the drip, I want to make sure that I'm slowly getting that epoxy around the edge of that drip. And the reason why I am doing my epoxy like this instead of just going wild and crazy and up and down right away is because I want to make sure to limit the amount of bubbles that may accumulate around that edge. I don't want to put a really thick coat of epoxy on underneath there because I want to make sure that the drip is still 3D and it doesn't just blend in with the rest of the cup, but also bubbles accumulate underneath there very easily. So I want to make sure that I am making very smooth movements against that drip edge and not making it very harsh and causing bubbles to occur. Then, as always, I'm going to make sure I tap on that top edge to make sure that our epoxy is getting all the way to the top. Then, of course, we go in with our torch, just being very careful not to get it too close to our drip, but to also make sure that we're getting any bubbles that have accumulated in between where our drip meets our cup. And here she is, the sweetest little strawberry in the patch. Look how cute she is. She's the perfect gift for a baby shower or a friend's kid or your kid or yourself. Hey, we don't judge here, but nonetheless, she is a hit every time. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, if you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. Be sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at DCerise Boutique. Also, be sure to join my Facebook group for makers, Tumblr tutors, linked in the description below. See you guys next time.